Hey everyone, and welcome back to the 4th episode of Sword and Shield season of Every Monster, Every Weapon. And today, we'll be talking about 3 more monsters. The 3 we're going to cover in this video are the Tobi-Kadachi, the Rathalos, and the Azure Rathalos, or Big Blue as I like to call him. If you haven't already, check out the other episodes of Every Monster, Every Weapon, where I showcase the Sword and Shield tactics that I've found successful against other monsters in Monster Hunter World. I will leave the annotation link at the top of the video for easy access. Otherwise, let's get into these monsters. The first monster in this lineup is the Tobi-Kadachi, which is a monster that gave many hunters, new and veteran alike, a tough time the first time they hunted this beast. The Tobi-Kadachi is a monster that's designed to challenge your reflexes and ability to work in tandem with your palico or teammates, utilizing everything at your disposal to maximize your hunt's effectiveness. Tobi is the first monster you will face that has very short windups for abilities. Its attacks are fast and fierce and can pose a challenge to hunters who have yet to find their footing in this world of monster hunting. Tobi is also the first monster you will face that has abilities that change mid-battle, once it reaches its charged state as it's known. For Sword and Shield users, the goal against Tobi is to be just as fast and just as fierce. Take a stack of nullberries with you for this fight because Thunder Blight is no joke and it could get you carded if you aren't careful. Standing off to Tobi's side is the best positioning for this monster. Orienting yourself facing its head is more risky, but can pay off if you time your dodges appropriately. I try to attack the tail first, which can't be severed, but can be broken to reduce the effectiveness of Tobi's thunder abilities. Tobi's head should be next to be broken, but should be targeted by the shield when possible, since tiring out Tobi with the KO damage is paramount to success. Because Tobi's attacks become significantly more powerful in its charged state, you want to do everything you can to prevent it from getting to the charged state to begin with. Stuns and status effects will be your best friend against Tobi if you can get them. Don't be afraid to use traps to inflict heavy damage on Tobi-Kadachi, free from retaliation if you feel like you need to. Every now and then, you'll see Tobi-Kadachi stop and rear up and sparks fly around his body. This is Tobi charging his charged state ability. If you let him do this enough, eventually he'll enter the charged state, where he puffs out his fur and gains electrical abilities with all of his normal attacks, including a charge ability and a spin ability on his flying dive bomb. This is why it is important to keep Tobi from getting to the charged state as often as possible because these deal significantly more damage. The best way to keep Tobi from entering the charged state or preventing him from using the tiny charges is to keep pressure on him. As long as you're attacking him, he won't have time to continually charge his ability. So it's important to keep your attacks fast, fierce, and keep pressure on the Tobi-Kadachi so that he cannot charge into his charged state ability. Try to be mindful of Tobi's tail slam ability. It jumps into the air, backflipping and slamming its tail into the ground, discharging a moderate amount of AoE thunder upon its impact. This hits hard and can afflict you with Thunder Blight. It only has a modest wind-up time, so you must be prepared to respond if he uses it. Tobi will also leap into the trees and flying squirrel-style dive bomb you. This is easy to avoid if you're keeping an eye on him while he's hopping around from tree to tree. I don't use the targeting camera in this video, but it can be helpful to track him by pressing R3, which is the control stick down. If you aren't skilled with rotating the camera manually, this can help you significantly. Don't forget, as a Sword and Shield user, you can use your shield to block if necessary. Dodging is the best way to respawn, but if you know a dodge won't get you out of danger, throw up that shield anyway. Just don't get carried away. One last note for the Tobi is that if you break its claws, then it will struggle to find footing in the trees, sometimes even preventing the aerial attacks completely, forcing the Tobi to drop down from the trees it's attached to since it doesn't have a good grip. Tobi can be flash bombed out of the tree, similar to flashing a Rathian out of flight, but this takes some skill to master and sometimes can just flat out miss, so I don't typically waste flash bombs on it, but it is an option to drop the Tobi out of a tree if you're feeling stuck. Next up, King of the Skies.
Are you a saint or a sinner? fight until the war's won. I don't care if heaven won't take me back. I'm an angel with a shotgun, fight until the war's won. I don't care if heaven won't take me back. I'll throw away my faith, babe, just to keep it safe. Don't you know you're everything I have? And I want to live, not just survive. And I'm gonna hide my way tonight. Before you start a war, you better know what you're fighting for. Well, baby, you are all that I adore. If love is what you need, a soldier I will be.
The second monster highlighted in this video is the flagship monster of the Monster Hunter franchise, the Rathalos. A lot of people find difficulty when facing the Rathalos, but I've found that many of these people also don't really have a sound strategy for defeating this monster. Sword and Shield users may initially find it difficult to fight the Rathalos because it stays airborne close to 85% of the fight, so reaching the monster may be difficult. I wouldn't advise attacking its legs while it's in flight because it has a fireball backstep ability that hits really hard, in addition to a frontal fire cleave that hits decently with a modest area of effect. Instead, try to position yourself off to the side to force the monster to turn and face you. This gives you a brief moment to flash the monster from the sky and make it vulnerable for a short time. Remember that once flashed, the Rathalos won't immediately take to the skies again, so attacking its legs and tail are now more reasonable. Unlike the Rathian, cutting off the Rathalos' tail shouldn't be a priority, but it does have its merits to doing so. I would prioritize the head first, dealing KO damage when you can, and sever the tail being a secondary objective. If you have easy access to doing so, then the tail's fine to attack, just be mindful that the head's a better target. The Rathalos can be worn out after a bit of time, so dealing KO damage to its head can speed up this process and open a brief window where you can attack it uncontested. When positioning yourself with the Sword and Shield while the Rathalos is grounded, it is very important to stand off to the side of its legs and not between them. The Rathalos' poison ability is in its claws, not its tail like the Rathian, so you must watch for its stomp ability, where it flies up briefly and immediately stomps back down to the ground, dealing decent damage and inflicting you with the poison. It can do this quite often, so try to be mindful when you see the monster take flight quickly. There's a bit of an animation difference in its standard flight and its stomp flight. You'll get used to it eventually. The Rathalos has empowered fireballs compared to the Rathian, so avoiding these fireballs is essential to surviving the fight. If you can dodge them well, then you can avoid most of the damage that this monster can do to you. The Rathalos' legs aren't necessarily weak, but they do have a low threshold of damage that it takes to topple the monster. So when you can, attack the legs with strong combos to topple him and get easy damage in. Just remember that every time you topple the Rathalos this way, it gets more difficult to do so each consecutive time after that. Take extra flash bugs to craft more flash bombs in the field, and this fight should be a cinch. Red Wrath isn't a tough matchup for the Sword and Shield, so good luck and have fun. The third and final monster featured in this video is the Azure Rathalos. This is a variant of the red Rathalos, except far more aggressive. The difference between Big Red and Big Blue is that the blue species uses its fire abilities far more frequently, and there is less time between its attacks. Otherwise, they are essentially the same monster, just recolored. Unlike the pink Rathian, the Azure Rathalos isn't heavily armored, but it does have its weak spots reduced in size, so keep that in mind when attacking them. There really isn't much to add with this monster, as the basic strategy is essentially the same with the red Rathalos. It's really not all that different from Big Red. Just make sure you take a full stack of flashbugs to ground the Rathalos and make the fight much easier on yourself. Otherwise, enjoy the video and good luck out there.
Super thrill, like a kill.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching episode 4 of Every Monster, Every Weapon, SnS Tobi and Rathalos edition. If you liked the video, consider leaving a like, subscribe for more, and check out my Twitch stream at twitch.tv/Altronsfu, Tuesday through Saturday, 12 to 3 a.m. Mountain Time. Also feel free to leave a comment down below of your tips for fighting these monsters with the weapons featured in these videos, or if you have questions, leave them in the comment section below and I will answer them as quickly as I can. Otherwise, happy hunting!